cost me more to bring my cats into the country than it costs to bring myself in.
If you don't do it right, then your animals can be rejected at the border in Taiwan. And if you cannot immediately fly back with them, they're not going to hold them. They will destroy your animals.
Spend the next 20 minutes feeding your brain with Formosa Fauna so you can learn all about the animal kingdom and become smarter than all of your friends. Every Friday is Formosa Fauna Friday. Hello, I'm Tristan Hildebrand, the voice of Formosa Fauna. I love animals and I love talking about them. If you're even remotely curious about the animal kingdom, you're in the right place. Just last month, I got an email from a listener, Brian, who says he tunes in each week from San Francisco. Thank you. Brian also suggested an episode all about importing pets into Taiwan. Much can be said about this, and there's too much information to put it all in one 20-minute episode, but hopefully it'll be helpful to hear from two experienced pet importers who can share their horror stories and recommendations. Of course, we'll also guide you in the right direction so you can find more information. Let's dive right in.
Hey, I am, well, you know me. I am the host of Geek Out and Jukebox Journeys. I'm Michelle Chang. And I'm sure you guys know already, I am a lifetime cat owner.
And I'm Kat. I am also a cat parent.
You both have brought in, I just heard, 2 cats per person.
That's
Yes,
correct.
correct.
And you're not both from the United States. Michelle is from the US
Yes.
and Kat is from
Canada.
Canada. Okay.
Taiwan considers itself rabies-free. And what that means is there is not an existing rabies virus in cats and dogs in Taiwan. Now, it has been found in bats, but not in dogs and cats so far. Therefore, they're very, very careful about bringing in any animals that could possibly transmit rabies to its existing population.
Whether or not your pet comes from a rabies-free country makes a huge difference in the importation process. If your pet is from a rabies-free country or zone, it will be much quicker and easier to bring them into Taiwan. These countries and zones include the Asian countries of Japan and Singapore, Oceanic countries of Australia and New Zealand, European countries of Estonia, Iceland, Sweden, the UK, and parts of Norway, and the US zones of Hawaii and Guam. If you did not hear your country or zone mentioned, then you are not from a rabies-free country, and the process will be a lot more complicated, time-consuming, expensive, and difficult. Knowing that you're moving to Taiwan, how far in advance do you want to start preparing?
A really long time, basically as soon as you know. And even then, sometimes your plans have to change. The blood for the rabies titer test needs to be taken 180 days before the date of departure.
Yes.
And so, obviously, that is the absolute minimum of time that you require before you come to Taiwan.
I think I started preparing a year out.
So within a year, about a year is a good time frame to make sure you get all the blood work in on time.
And the vaccines and everything.
Right.
done.
Definitely not an easy process.
And extremely stressful for us as the pet parents, right? You're constantly experiencing some level of anxiety of whether or not you're doing everything right, because if you don't do it right, then your animals can be rejected at the border in Taiwan. And if you cannot immediately fly back with them, they're not going to hold them. They will destroy your animals.
Oh, a what?
Yes. Somebody needs to be able to fly them immediately out of the country again, or they will destroy them. They will not hold them.
So you could just fly back with them, though?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's
If you can, if you
can afford it.
to buy your plane ticket home immediately and get out of the country, you can take them home.
But it causes so much stress. It's so stressful. Yeah.
Do they not give you, or do they give you confirmation ahead of time? Like give you an email that has a green check mark that says you're all set to go?
No.
I mean, the agent will help you to the best of their ability. And if, for example, any piece of paperwork is missing some degree of something, they are not looking at the paperwork, so they can't tell you whether it's like green check.
The person that you're in contact with doesn't see your paperwork until you arrive.
So you will not know whether or not your
know.
pet is going to be accepted until you actually arrive.
Until you arrive.
It's really high anxiety. The first thing that people should do, I think, is to contact we call it BAFIC.
Bureau of Animal and Plant Health Inspection and Quarantine.
Yeah.
The Bureau of Animal and Plant Health Inspection and Quarantine, or BAPHIQ, BAFIQ, was restructured into the Animal and Plant Health Inspection Agency, APHIA, late 2023. So those listeners wanting to import their pet anytime after 2023 will want to reference the APHIA, APHIA. All of the information provided in this episode is true to the best of our knowledge, but always refer back to APHIA's website to be sure.
It's the bureau that will help you with this stuff. They actually have, since my arrival, updated their website so it's easier to read in English, and also it's easier to find contact information. So you basically start an email chain going. Tell them where you're from and what kind of animals you're looking to import and
the date of your arrival. They want to know approximately within like 3 days the date that you will be arriving in Taiwan.
So you do get to communicate one-on-one with like an agent, a representative?
Yes. Yeah.
Correct.
Then that sort of simplifies the process a little bit, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, there are even easier ways to do this, meaning you can just throw money at the problem. You can hire a pet import specialist, and that position does exist, of people who can help you move an animal into Taiwan, and you don't have to really do anything. They'll run all your paperwork for you and tell you what to do when.
The process itself is already expensive.
Yes.
So if you're hiring somebody else to do it, you're looking at a lot of added expenses there too.
How much are we talking about?
I think the most expensive part was the rabies titer test, which you have to do. And for my 2 cats, I spent over 1,000 Canadian for their rabies titer tests. So it's incredibly expensive.
My parents actually imported our golden retriever way back when, and they did hire a handler in order to do this, and I believe it was a $6,000 bill.
Whoa.
Yeah, in order for somebody else to run this for you.
So you are paying for the convenience.
You are paying for the convenience. When I imported 2 cats, not 1 dog, 2 cats, and I had connections because I worked in the industry, so a lot of the vet paperwork and stuff was free because I was an employee working for a company. After quarantine, all said and done, added up to be about $3,000.
That's still very expensive.
Yeah, very expensive.
Yeah, it cost me more to bring my cats into the country than it cost to bring myself in.
That's true.
Including the
Including the plane
everything,
ticket and everything, yeah. It
Wow.
cost me more to bring the cats in.
Nutty.
Yes.
So let's talk about, you get off the plane. What happens next?
So the way that it happened for me was I get off the plane, I had to go pick up my animals in the like luggage collection area. And then I had to go straight to an import agent who took a lot of my paperwork, checked things off, checked that I had booked a spot in the quarantine facility, and then, basically checked the cats quickly to make sure that they were what I said they were.
What do they check?
I think they're looking to make sure that like
These are not baby tigers.
these are not, you're bringing in what you've said you're bringing in, and that it looks correct.
Right.
And like they'll make sure that the cages are secured and everything, and then you have to take them to another agent who will then
Travel them
to a quarantine facility.
Yeah. It's really official how they do it. They will they seal the kennels that the animals are traveling in with some. It's like a zip tie and like a official tag.
Oh, like a lock?
Yeah, like a lock. You can't undo it. Otherwise, it's you disturb the chain of custody or some crazy stuff. And that agent will travel with you and or with the animals. You can technically depart at that point, but I didn't. They travel you to the quarantine facility with the animals, and then there's another round of checking of paperwork while the cats go to their quarters.
Speaking about the quarters, do you get to visit the animal while they are quarantined?
Well, the good news is, yes, in my case.
No, in mine.
It depends on the facility. Where did you?
In Taiwan.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was I don't remember the name of it, but it was in the middle of nowhere. It's a terrifying looking facility.
What made it terrifying?
It was literally in the middle of nowhere. So getting out there was next to impossible. I had to take a taxi all the way out there, and then the poor taxi driver was like, "Do you want me to stay?" And I was like, "Yes,
so
please."
nice. That's super nice.
Very nice.
And so he waited for me. But it was in the middle of nowhere, and then the facility itself looked very run down. It was like concrete beige walls that just looked old and
moldy.
nasty.
We care about our pets like they're our kids because they're our kids, and it would be really scary like leaving them there. Mine was so much better. There's the National Taiwan University Veterinary Hospital, NTUVH, which is downtown in Taipei. And back then, they had a floor and a section that they were doing quarantine in for imported animals. And I was able, because I started preparations like 2 years in advance, to book a spot, 2 spots, because I had 2 cats traveling together. And yeah, it was luck and timing. Being prepared is priceless in this case because the facilities were lovely. NTUVH is a top-level veterinary hospital. They can do things that the vast majority of other veterinary hospitals in Taiwan can't do, which is nice, peace of mind in case something happens. But their quarantine facility was dehumidified, it was air-conditioned, it was super clean. You can, once a day, book visiting hours. And then you can bring in food and toys and stuff to play with them and hang out. Like, they are kept in kind of like cage-type enclosures, but for the time that you book with them, like it's an hour at a time, they'll let them out of the cage enclosure and you have a play area to play in.
So you're restricted to 1 hour a day?
1 hour a day, which is better than none.
That's delightful.
It's delightful. It's better than none.
And you get that peace of mind of knowing that your pet knows that they weren't abandoned.
Yeah, exactly.
Price-wise, do you remember how much you paid?
That was the bulk of cost for me. I believe it was $100 a day. And
US dollar?
$100 US a day between 2 cats, and it was for 21 days.
Ooh.
Mine was not that expensive. I do not remember the exact amount that I paid, but it was definitely a lot more affordable than that.
I'm sure being in that run-down looking building, it wasn't as cushy.
The quarantine time for pets used to be 21 days regardless, but now it can be as quick as 7 days if there are no extenuating circumstances. Again, refer back to AFIA's website to be sure about all of the details.
The other thing that I wanted to mention is that now, at least, when you are importing animals into Taiwan, if you're booking a flight, you have to get in touch with the airline and let the airline know that you're bringing animals aboard, like early on, because they will tell you if there's not room for them. And if you don't get in touch early and say, hey, I have 2 animals and they're coming, they can turn you down and say, sorry, there's not room on the flight. You can't get on with the animals.
At the gate, and then it's a huge problem because your paperwork said this date for the import permits and stuff.
But if the airline, if you get to the airport with your animals and you haven't told the airline that you're coming with animals and the airline tells you, sorry, there's not room, then they will fully just reject the animals off the flight.
How far in advance did you tell the airline?
I was a week in advance.
The airline wanted, I think, 30 days notice.
Oh, wow.
That we were coming. EVA.
EVA. I think I was China Air. Of course, times have changed. Policies may differ.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it still will differ case by case. Oh my gosh. Overall, how do you think the toll was on those cats? Did you physically or mentally witness anything?
When I left Taiwan with the cats, Cleo was 6 months old. And she was a baby. And Dee Dee was about 8 years old. And leaving Taiwan was fine. Both of them made it. No problems. We had very little stress getting into Canada. Everything was good.
Leaving Taiwan is super easy.
Leaving Taiwan was easy. Yeah. Getting the cats out of Taiwan, no problem. Getting cats back into Taiwan, when I got them back, they were both very, very stressed. Neither one of them were happy. Cleo had lost weight. Their period of time in quarantine was not great for them. And I left them complaints because I was mad.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea the setup that they were in?
I don't. And that's what's still frustrating to me is I never saw
where they were
kept, right? When I got there and dropped them off, they took them in and took them to their place. When I went to pick them up, they had them in their crates and waiting for me. So
sketchy.
I didn't even see them like go into the crates. I just saw them in their crates. And it wasn't until I got home and took them out and that I realized that they were like wet and miserable. Yeah.
We don't even know if they had like a decent amount of space to, or a litter box to go to the bathroom in.
Yeah.
Wow. That's really sad.
That's awful. Our family golden retriever was unrecognizable when he came back.
Way.
Yeah,
oh, really?
Because not to brag or anything, but he was descended from show champions, and he was like a very handsome dog, very robust, and his fur was shiny, and he the very iconic golden retriever. Now when he flew in, he went to Taichung, no visitors, and apparently also no air conditioning. And when we got him back, he had skin issues. Some of his fur was patchy, like it was falling out in some places. His face, like around his eyes, was like red and inflamed, and his nose was no longer black. It was like his nose was kind of a weird pink shade.
That's weird.
obviously the microchip was the same, so it was the same dog. And he responded to his name, so we're pretty sure it's the same dog, but he was almost unrecognizable. So we really did not know what kind of conditions he was being kept in.
Wow, I wonder if people nowadays can request, like, hey, I'd like to see, first of all, a photo of, once you have everything set up. That's not too much to ask.
Maybe.
But
and if they have the option to choose facilities, go with the one that they can get visuals on, because I think BAFIC has a list of facilities that are approved for quarantine.
Obviously, in the case of my cats, they came in, and because I was able to see them every day, they were fine coming home. They were kind of fat, because there's not that much activity to do. It is a smaller quarantine room, so they weren't able to exercise as they normally would. And yeah, they were a little older. One was 6 and the other was 10. So they had gained weight while they were in quarantine.
How about not just the toll on the animals, but on you as the owner? Was it worth it overall? And if you have to do the same thing again, would you rather leave your pets overseas with somebody you trust, temporarily, permanently, or would you bring them in again?
If you're not going to be in the country for, like a year or something fairly, kind of short term, then I would find somebody to temporarily care for them. Because putting them through that kind of ordeal is kind of mean. But in my case, I was permanently moving, and both cats were fairly laid back. So I made the decision to travel them with me. The only time I would say maybe not travel them is maybe if they're super high strung and wouldn't travel well, and or if you're going to be away for just a year or two.
So if you're going to be here for any longer than a year or two, you could consider it as an option. Would you agree with that?
I think, yeah, if you know you're coming temporarily, if you're planning to leave again, I don't know that I would put the animal through that. If you have someone that you trust who's willing to take care of them, a parent or a friend who's close to you, then that's probably a better option than putting them through the travel and quarantine and everything else, if you're planning to move back again. If you're planning to stay here for a long period of time before you go home, then it's your baby. Of course it's going to be worth it.
Of course it's worth it.
But I feel like you need to be very confident about what you're doing and where they're staying and everything else before you do it.
Organization is my thing. Even then, I was not confident going through the process because it is really, as I said before, very, very stressful. And crossing your T's and dotting your I's, you got to make sure everything is done extremely, extremely well and completely. But yes, it's absolutely worth it. It's I would experience there's no limit to the amount of stress I would experience in order to import my children.
Yeah.
In light of recent political events, there are a lot of people who are thinking about leaving the U.S. specifically in order to, seek a better life elsewhere. And Taiwan is actually a great place to do that. I've just brought over a couple of friends. They're also bringing their cat over soon. One of the big questions that they asked me is about veterinary care and, the cost of living for keeping pets here in Taiwan. And the answer is it's absolutely worth it. Vet care here 100%. Is so much cheaper than in the U.S. specifically. And of course, even supplies. Weirdly, a brand of cat food is frequently cheaper in Taiwan, even though it's an import, than in the United States in a pet store. But it is actually very much worth it to bring your pets over. It is a better life for them here as well. So
yeah, I do agree with that. There's a lot of things that happened, especially in the last little while with me, that I would not have been able to afford if I'd been in Canada. And it would have been a lot harder to deal with. So being here for the medical issues that I was dealing with the cats has made it much more affordable and much more manageable. So it is nice to be here for that.
It's worth it.
It's a good place to have pets.
Yeah.
Not super easy to get them in, but once they're here, it's a great place to have them.
Once they're here.
Okay, thank you so much, Michelle and Cats.
You're very welcome.
Is there anything you would like to share with me or anything that you would like to hear in an episode? Send me an email at tristan@rti.org.tw. That is tristan@rti.org.tw. Making it to the end of an episode makes you a Formosa Fauna friend. Thank you for tuning in, friend. After all, we're all just a bunch of wild animals. See you next time for Formosa Fauna Fridays here on Radio Taiwan International.